Is Prigozhin back in Russia? And have leaked photos of his palace revealed just what exactly he has going on in there? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. It's July 6th, 2023. This is your daily Ukraine update. Let's get into it. Okay, so actually the two maps haven't updated, so we've got to go to War Mapper for or at least the only real territorial changes we've seen in the last 24 hours or so. Interestingly, again, they are real progress on the northern and southern flanks of Bachmann near Klachivka, Optine, as well as near the Berkiva Reservoir. This has been a heavily contested area. And you can see in the last month, we're looking at everything in this beige area here. So steady progress, but I think what's most important is that you're seeing Ukrainian forces start to carve out territory in which they can begin to attempt their encirclement of Bachmann, or re-encirclement of the city. So there's some potential here. It's hard to know with somewhere like Bachmann, but momentum definitely is a key factor in this fight. You need to see, if Ukraine wants to achieve significant tactical gains, it needs to force Russian forces to continually retreat and, crucially, not have time to dig in on the defensive. The longer these troops have to dig in and establish positions, the harder it's going to be to dislodge them again. And right now, when you're talking about a few hundred meters of progress, which the second and third lines, the reserve elements, they have time to dig in and form robust defensive positions, as well as really excellent fires and defensive fields of fire, right? There's a lot they can do to make their defense very robust. But if you can push them back quickly, they're going to have less and less time to defend. And your forces, hopefully, are going to be able to continue to push harder and harder. And it's going to be easier and easier to sweep them aside. So that's part of the goal here, is to create those conditions, attrit Russian forces, and then achieve a breakthrough. Now, easier said than done, certainly, in this environment. When we look over at the combat map, you can see exactly what I'm talking about, and that Russia knows that it needs to continually be counterattacking out here in these two flanks, in the northern and southern flanks here, launching of the 38 combat engagements. It seems like there's a heavy concentration of them taking place right outside of Bachmann, again, in an effort to blunt Ukrainian forces as they try to achieve a breakthrough against Russian forces in this area. So, again, maybe a sign of desperation, or it may simply be, Russia realizing that taking Bachmann is revealing itself as a significant Ukrainian operational goal. Do I agree with it? Kind of. It's better than Zaporizhzhia. That's what I'll say. Anyway, here's the real news that I wanted to talk about. Oh, but before I get to that, if you want to get the news from the front lines and my analysis of the combat videos that are coming to us from this counteroffensive, the only place you can get it is going to be on combatvetnews.com. This is my site. And if you, in short, YouTube, sponsors, Patreon, none of them have a very high opinion of war content right now, but I believe that the analysis I'm doing is important. And so, I created Combat Vet News as the home not only of my members only content, which is the analysis of combat footage, but also all the news stories I can't get to in the daily update, and all my YouTube videos are on here for free. So really, it's meant to be a one-stop shop. If you become a member, any one of these tiers is going to get you access to the Discord, an exclusive room on the Discord, and the members only content, which is going to feature, again, all the combat videos that I can't show you anywhere else. And honestly, it's just the best way to keep me independent, to ensure that I can continue to do this, regardless of what YouTube or Patreon or advertisers feel about the conflict, right? Your tax dollars go to support it, so you might as well learn something about it. Anyway, This is the other story. Belarusian leader Alexander Lukashenko is reporting that the Wagner chief is actually in Russia, which leads to a lot of head scratching, given that Russia claims it was an essential part of the deal that Prigozhin remain in Belarus. So, right now, these claims couldn't be independently verified. In fact, no one, even the Kremlin itself, admits that it doesn't really know where Prigozhin is. And it's not clear if this movement through Russia would actually violate the deal. I would say probably not, simply because he almost certainly has affairs to wrap up in Russia. This is a man with extensive business and we'll say non-business networks that he's going to have to put a string on and that he can't be away from for long periods of time. So any deal is going to give him a wind down period at a minimum, and it's more likely that they are saying he has to keep his forces and the Wagner administrative entity based in Belarus. He himself, I'm sure, is perfectly able to move to and from Russia and Belarus. But when asked, the Kremlin spokesman even said that they have absolutely no idea where he is. But so here's what I thought was really interesting. We'll switch over here. Is that there were recently photos released of his palace. And one of the things that he has, of course, is a lot of wigs, simply so he can travel with an appropriate level of anonymity. You can see he's trying very hard in a lot of these photos to appear as a Chechen or Arab person. He has, of course, many of these like iconically, the large Taliban beard. He's got some Chechen beards. He's got different military uniforms. So simply just trying to probably obfuscate things like the passport control or simply assassination by his political enemies. So again, while they look goofy, no doubt about it, it can be sort of helpful in terms of preserving your anonymity. But the actual size of his house is massive. We can see here in this footage, it has what looks like a tennis court and just is a massive mansion, including a helicopter pad. You can see Russian police breaching it. Looks like office spaces. Again, no one's in here. This is law enforcement footage. Don't demonetize me, YouTube. You can see them. They really are trying to make a big. Some of this is Russian propaganda, obviously, but note some of these things. Like, look how heavy this door is. This is, and watch it swing. It looks to me like it's a very heavy door. So, and if anyone knows what either of these signs mean, I suspect that this is probably. Quite possibly a secure room of some kind. You can see them. These guys are really treating it like it's a deliberate danger. You can see he's got some sort of broadcast studio where he can give statements or press conferences. You can see he has a whole staff that's working here, possibly his Concord Press Service, maybe some sort of intel operation. Again, I'm inclined to say it because you can see there's this grass here, and oftentimes this paneling can function as soundproofing. But again, this is just me speculating at this point. This still looks like an extensive staff. Yeah, there's a Wagner flag up. You can see he's got what looks like stacks and stacks and stacks of currency. You got rubles here, serial numbered and freshly wrapped. Not clear if it's legitimate or counterfeit. But you could see this is enough that if this van were to get out of the country, in all likelihood, Prigozhin would be able to live much more modestly, but for the rest of his life, without any issue. You can see here, it looks like clear that he had some heavy weapons. Those are weapons cases. And of course, it wouldn't be a raid by the Russian police if they didn't take his helicopter for a spin. Classic. You could also just tow it away. I'm sure if there's one thing we can be certain of with the Wagner Group, it's that they are definitely able to leave surprises here and there. You can see he's got actually a stylized sledgehammer. Look at this. At the bottom, it says for important negotiations only. But you can see a large, stylized sledgehammer. As well as his passport, his Russian passport, and a lot of stacks of unmarked U.S. $100 bills, gold bullion, right? And you can be sure, all right, many weapons, lots and lots of what look like Soviet-era pistols, right? Very probably hard to trace. You could see a much younger Prigozhin from... Yep, and you can also see some of these other ones where it looks like this is Prigozhin, but clearly a different person's face, likely to, again, create some deception if they were to have this man pass through passport control, right? That would make it look like he's gone to a different place or somewhere else when he hasn't. And of course, lots and lots of stacks of bills. So what you're seeing is, of course, a very just a luxury lifestyle. Certainly from what we've known as a billionaire, but this is a unique flavor of billionaire. I can tell you that with a pretty good level of confidence, Bill Gates does not have moving vans full of cash, despite also being a billionaire. And certainly, you can be confident he doesn't have this level of arms and ammunition in his bedroom. So it really just speaks to the fact that Prigozhin is a much more, we'll say, on the ground type of businessman. But you see, he also has a Russian Orthodox chapel, which I think is pretty fun. Anyway, guys, that's all I had for you. Thanks again to our Combat Vet News members, all our Colonel tier members. I appreciate you so much. Thank you to our Lieutenant tier members. You guys make this whole thing possible. I appreciate you guys for sticking with me, and I will see you all in the next one.